Hello and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I'm Jackson.
And I am home at the movies.
And this week we have a special guest for the first time ever on the podcast.
Kennedy.
Yeah, right. Well, first name Kennedy. His name is Kennedy Baruch, and he's going to be joining us to discuss his new film that's in production, Princess in Another Castle. So that should be fun.
You Nintendo fans will recognize that reference.
Yes.
Like Captain America. I understood that reference.
There you go.
Bored and Annoyed.
But first, we have news. I hope Alex has news, because I wasn't up on the news this week.
There was some news, but there's a lot of Marvel news, and a lot of it was TV, and a lot of it's speculation. So I'm just going to go with one of the more interesting pieces of news, which is the Upgrade director is doing the Invisible Man movie for Universal.
I did see that. Now, is this them trying to continue their dark universe, or is this a new?
I think we gotta assume yes. This is a continuation.
Well, I liked Upgrade, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of wonder, maybe this is when it finally turns around?
Well, they had like all the casting done for this dark universe, right?
Javier Bardem was in it, I believe. Johnny Depp was in it.
Right, I was going to say, was Johnny Depp the Invisible Man?
I think so. I mean, God knows if they still got him for that. Jackson's going to...
Yeah, I'm going to confirm that, because that would be funny if, that'll be a sign as to whether or not they're going to be doing the same deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember it was Tom Cruise, clearly.
Yep.
Johnny Depp. They had Javier. Russell Crowe was in the first movie.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know.
They were thinking about having, what's his name? Luke Evans come back as Dracula, too.
Oh, there you go.
That was supposed to be...
I actually didn't hate that movie.
I never saw it. That was supposed to be the original beginning of this universe.
I'm looking right now. I'm not going to find it offhand. But
right.
Yeah, maybe later we'll correct the record and tell you who he was going to play. But I think it was the Invisible Man. I could be wrong.
But can you imagine this director doing an action scene with an invisible character? Like... But here's the thing.
Could be kind of fun.
Here's the thing. Imagine Upgrade action, but the guy's half invisible, but he's got like blood splatters on part of his body so you can see him.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Or like just the wrapped up head with the gauze or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can do something really cool with that. I don't want it to be Johnny Depp. Like I really don't, but I'm first time
I'm
ever.
open to the idea of an Invisible Man movie, though.
First time ever, I am mildly excited for the Universal Monsters universe.
Oh, there you go.
The dark
I was
universe.
excited when I saw the cast, but since that movie came out, I have not been excited. I like everyone that they cast.
I do, but at the same time, I'm like, I looked at the director for The Mummy, and I was like,
I don't even know who that was.
That was
that was bad.
God, it was it's I believe the same guy who's directing X-Men, the new X-Men that's coming out.
The Phoenix movie.
The Phoenix one. Yeah. Yeah, he was a writer on like all these X-Men movies. That was his first time direct. No, I'm wrong, but I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody. Oh, it was one of the guys who worked on the Amazing Spider-Man series. That's who it was.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Not
That's
a
all you need
director.
to
It was
know.
like a first-time director who was a writer. But anyways.
But yeah, Upgrade was great.
Yes.
Next bit of news.
I find this kind of interesting. Black Widow might be the first R-rated Marvel movie. Marvel Studios movie.
Really? The Scarlett Johansson Black Widow movie?
It's the rumor currently.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry.
No
I
confirmation.
just don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, but what if, Jax?
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Fake news.
I mean, like I said, there was a lot of speculation about it, but nothing's confirmed right now. Let's see. Sad news. Aquaman is the highest grossing DC movie of all time.
Makes sense. Unfortunately.
Garbage.
It doesn't make sense from a quality standpoint.
Thanks, China. Fucking everything up.
Yeah,
once
that's true.
again.
They really do. We don't hate the Chinese. We're just saying.
I just don't understand the tastes
we hate
at
their
all.
movie tastes. Yeah,
I don't get it. And I think last piece of news, the movie that we've all been waiting for, really, at the end of the day. At least I have. Since, I don't know, about 5. Tom and Jerry.
Oh, that's happening.
Still happening. We're working on it. And they released some concept art. Do you want to see it, Jackson?
Yes, I do. I want to see it.
He's judging slowly.
Wait a minute. So Jennifer Lawrence is like the mom whose legs you saw in the show?
I think so, yeah.
So Jennifer Lawrence is in this picture. You guys can Google it, and it's Tom and Jerry, basically. That can't be real. Is that real?
Apparently it's real. All
right,
real.
Whatever. I mean, as long as it's about Tom and Jerry. I don't even care to see a human character in the goddamn movie.
Right. Well, the worst thing about this is that they're not even like that photorealistic thing. Like, it's almost like, well, I don't know if it's terrible or if it's good, but
Let me see it again.
They look exactly like they're cartoon versions.
Yeah, so it's just a cartoon version of, so it's going to be like the Garfield movie, kind of.
But Garfield, they tried to kind of make him, like they gave him like fur.
Sure.
Here, they're just smooth CGI creatures, you know?
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do. I have a feeling that's what they'll do. It'll be a cheap, shitty movie.
Yeah.
But
another piece of news. Monopoly is getting a movie.
Kevin Hart, right?
Kevin Hart, yeah. Is this another race switch?
The first thing I thought of when I saw this was announced was that scene in Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah.
You must be the Monopoly guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's unrelated. But yeah, I don't know. What the hell? So he's going to like make his way up in Atlantic City, like make his way to the top, I would assume.
State Street, whatever it is. I can't remember.
I don't think he's going to play like the monocle wearing old dude. He's going to be like,
I'd rather he did.
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will
I don't
either.
think that's the main character. That's like the guy who like explains the stuff to him.
He'll be like a white, older actor who's been out of it for a while who will be a cameo.
Richard Dreyfuss. Just saw him in Polar this weekend.
Unbelievable. That man has aged so poorly. I mean, it's not his fault. Like, it's part of it's
did
this.
They really,
part
did
of
they
it's
really get? If you haven't listened to our Polar review yet, did they really get Richard Dreyfuss
for
spoilers,
a cameo bit?
It is Richard Dreyfuss.
It is, yeah.
It's more than a cameo. It's a character. It's like he gets like a scene.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. I was shocked
that he was in that.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it.
Well, it took me a minute. I'm like, is that him?
Yeah.
But yeah, we can get into that when we record our Polar review.
Yep. And last piece of news that I saw that was of some interest was the DC movies are apparently done focusing on like a shared universe after the success of Aquaman. They're more interested now in individual stories.
Good, because they botched it. So just keep them separate, and then they don't have to poison each other with their awfulness.
It's kind of a good point. At the same time, I mean, you have a point in that they failed miserably at what they were trying to do.
Right.
But I think at the same time, it's not the comics, like, I mean, you can not do what the comics are. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like
before the MCU, that's how it was.
Right.
You just had
and you can do like the Tobey Maguire first 2 films are not bad films, and they still had Spider-Man as a singular hero in his universe. And that worked. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's sort of weird to be like, we were a universe and now we're not.
Just ignore it.
Just pretend.
I mean, they can mention shit. They just can't. Yeah. I don't know. Or you just, make something good. That would be another plan. But
I think they just realized it's a lot harder than it looks.
Right.
So, which is fine. If you can't do it, go back to the thing that you can do.
I would agree.
But you want to go into shit we watched?
Yeah, I have quite the list this week, actually, to be honest with you. The first thing I wanted to mention was this documentary called, I think it was the Fire Festival. It's on Netflix.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good, man.
Okay.
So basically it's about, it's a documentary about this Fire Festival, FYRE, and how these guys like planned the largest music festival ever. They like bought an island in the Bahamas. they went and, put up for sale these like cabanas and shit. It was going to be like this 3-day thing. Everybody was going to take private jets to get to it.
Right.
Like they sold this like luxury experience. Problem is they didn't have a plan. And the guy who did it, basically the main guy, him and Ja Rule put it together.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he just bullshitted everyone for the funding for this.
Wait, Ja Rule did, or
no,
the other guy?
No, the other guy. But
Okay.
Ja Rule, I don't know how by halfway through the documentary, they just kind of like conveniently forget that he's selling this too.
This sounds like Prestige Worldwide, but
Yes,
in the real
that's what it
world.
is. No, somebody had a meme of Aziz Ansari's character and his buddy from Parks and Rec. I forget the guy's
John
name.
Ralphio.
Yeah, John Ralphio, and it's like the real guys who came up with the Fire Festival. It was perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, so everybody gets down there, like the people who bought this, and it's like these recycled tents from like FEMA camps that are like the cabanas and shit. It is fucking crazy, dude. And this guy, he's an idiot. I won't go too deep into the main guy who put it together, but it's like you just douche written all over it, But yeah, very interesting. Netflix right now. I would recommend it. I'd give it like a B+.
Oh, okay. I started watching the new season of Kimmy Schmidt. It is fine, but it's all over the place. I had one episode that made me roll my eyes quite a bit. I also had I completely skipped this is I forget, season 4 or season 5. They split it into 2. So like the first, it was like 6 or 7 episodes. Last season, I couldn't make it 15 minutes into the first episode. The writing was so terrible.
Okay.
So I just skipped that entire season, started this one fresh, because this is the last season of this show. And it started out okay, and it's not terrible anymore, but it's still pretty hit or miss. So I don't know if I'd recommend it. I'd probably give it like a C. It's fine. I mean, as a sitcom connoisseur, it's okay.
See, it's popular, right?
It is popular.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, though. The first 2 or 3 seasons were written really, really well.
And it was funny.
And it was funny.
Good
It was
characters,
good. Yeah.
I would assume.
And I liked it a lot. And then it just, I swear, somebody on the writing staff had to have left. Somebody integral, because the writing just went to shit. Like it was a petering off. Don't get me wrong. It didn't just fall off a cliff. But
It's funny how important certain people are. Like I think of that first season of The Walking Dead and Frank Darabont being involved, and then he's gone. And if you guys don't know who he is, he directed Shawshank Redemption. I mean, he's a big deal.
Yep.
He was heavily influencing the direction that show was going to take.
Yep.
And he left, and it's never been the same.
It's kind of
Which,
how it
by
goes.
the way, I haven't watched it in months, so I'm off.
Oh, wow.
I'm off of it. I forgot to tell you that.
You didn't even wean off. You didn't even just
clean cut.
Just half an episode
Cold
this week.
turkey. Cold turkey.
That's usually the best way to quit.
Yeah, it's funny. I see stuff and I'm like, do I want to watch it? I think I have them on DVR. I just haven't. It's
Good
too
for
big
you,
of a chore.
man. Good for you.
Yeah, I didn't even have to go to like inpatient rehab or anything.
Wow,
But
impressive.
yeah, so not good anymore.
It's fine. I mean, it's definitely better than last season or last half of this season. But it's C plus maybe. I don't know.
All right.
It's okay.
I watched one this weekend. Resolution, the Aaron and Justin horror movie. I watched again.
Oh, you watched it again?
Yes,
Okay.
fucking great. Just
is-
wanted to mention that.
Yep, it's a good one.
Yeah, god damn.
It's a good one. They're I know that they recently finished filming on that Anthony Mackie one that they're making.
Yes, and I'm pumped for another movie from them.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited because they got like A-listers this time.
He's not an A-lister.
Well, okay, not A-listers, but they got like
an actor someone's heard of and seen.
They've got Hollywood actors now.
You know, though, does it matter?
It doesn't.
I mean, the acting was good in both of those
all
movies.
that matters is the visibility it will
That's
get.
true. We want more people to see their movies.
Yes, that's all I care about. They can direct the hell out of any actor they get.
So the
seems like.
MCU fans out there, make sure you go see Anthony Mackie in the new Aaron and Justin movie.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we watched that. Basically, the reason I watched that was because a buddy of mine came over and we watched one he had recommended as well called Good Time.
Okay.
With oh God, the guy who played Edward Cullen. I
Oh,
can't remember
right.
his name. But fucking crazy. Really good. I would highly recommend it. Basically, he has like a mentally challenged brother, and they rob a bank, and the brother gets arrested. So he's trying to like get the money to get him back out. It's Robert Pattinson, by the way. That's his name.
Yep.
But yeah, fucking one of those movies where it's just like you feel like you took a shot of adrenaline before you watched it because it's constantly moving and there's constantly crazy shit happening. You know, he like loses a 20-ounce filled with like LSD.
Okay.
And he's fucking running around like this with this guy who he thinks it's his brother in the hospital, like breaks him out, and it's not his brother. It's just fucking like when it was over, I was like, whew. You know, but yeah, I would highly recommend that one. He's good. Robert Pattinson. I know everybody's stuck on that Ed Cullen thing, but everything I've seen him in since, I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. So yeah, that was one. We watched that and I'm like, have I got a weird movie for you, my friend? See if you can figure this one out, and popped in Resolution. So.
Okay. Let's see what else. Netflix, more Netflix. I started watching the new season of Punisher.
And?
So a little predictable.
Okay.
You almost wish, I mean, it's not a spoiler. Anybody who goes in knows that eventually he's going to be Punisher again. Otherwise you wouldn't have a season.
Yeah, no, he's the Punisher. Right.
But,
he's trying to like be on the straight and narrow at the beginning.
With that in mind, the first episode, you're just biding your time because you know somebody's going to get hurt. He starts caring about a new person. You're like, you're only here to motivate Frank into getting back to what he was doing.
Right.
And so in that regard, first episode, not even really, like, not actually, I'll say it, not very good.
Okay.
Except for this killer fight scene in a bathroom.
Oh, a good Marvel fight scene. I guess Punisher has those down.
Yes, and that was, it was sick. It was a nice knife fight in the bathroom. Oh, it was killer.
Who doesn't love a knife fight?
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Episode 2 was okay, not great. Episode 3 is fine. I don't think it's as good as season 1. Partially because it's doing a lot of, like, there's a sheriff scene where people get arrested and you're like, oh, I know where this is going. The bad guys that are chasing Frank are going to come here and attack the sheriff's office because it's a small town sheriff's office.
Right.
And so you're just waiting for that to happen in that episode. So it's okay. The acting is all pretty good. There's a new girl in it who's like a teenager. She's really unlikable.
Okay.
Snot-nosed punk kind of character, really ungrateful. Frank, he's great. John Bernthal is just a great actor. He's perfect for the role, I think. But it's just okay. It's not great. I'm a little. It's another C plus B minus.
It's not getting good reviews, I've noticed.
That was the thing that got me, is it was at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes last I checked, and I was like, I don't know if this is 50% worthy, but that's how people feel, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, usually I feel like TV reviews are inflated,
yes,
if anything.
Yeah.
So usually, like, you see 50 for a TV series like that, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know?
And there was
because I know, like, Luke Cage season 2, which I was like a fucking snooze fest. I think that got pretty good.
It did get
Rotten Tomatoes.
It did
scores.
get, and I'll say this: I like it more than in Iron Fist season 2, and I like it more than Luke Cage season 2.
Okay, and more than Jessica Jones.
More than Jessica Jones season 2.
I couldn't get through 2 episodes of that fucking disaster.
That was garbage.
Yeah, that was terrible. But overall, if you're a fan, watch it. Should I watch it?
I think it's worth your time. You might like it actually more than I did, because you might not hate some of the cliches as much as I was hating them.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Staying with Netflix.
Yeah.
I watched another documentary on Netflix called...
We should just call this Netflix and Annoyed.
Hey. Abducted in Plain Sight. Have you heard of this?
I saw it on the recommended list.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Basically, I don't want to spoil anything because it's a wild ride. Basically, it's about a little girl who's kidnapped twice by a family friend. Like the dad of a family.
Twice. Was he wearing a mask the first time?
No, and that's it. That's just it. Is, you know, you hate to victim blame,
right?
And in this case, I don't blame the little girl,
right?
But the family of the little girl. They're like a really, you know, not that I hate religious people, religious fans down there, calm down,
right?
But it's like a really religious family, and the guy, like, they met him at church, whatever, the abductor,
yeah.
But yeah, just. The shit is like, why is this guy allowed near her? Like, what are you fucking thinking? Like, he sleeps in her bed 5 out of 7 nights a week at one point in the movie. Like, knowingly.
I have nothing.
That's
strange.
It is fucked up. All right. So the first abduction, the way that he gets her brainwashed, the little girl, is basically she wakes up like strapped down to a bed, and he has a recorder playing, saying, like, with the voice of an alien, telling her that basically she has a mission. She needs to, you know, she needs to have a child by her 16th birthday. Otherwise, her little sister will get the mission. And if her little sister doesn't do it, then the world will end. And she's like 12 or 13.
He fucked up George McFly'd this girl.
Yes, but
that's
the point
a
is,
fucked up George McFly.
And here's where I'm like, something's going on with Sheldon. Like, he targeted this family. Like, but I'm sorry. Like, I like to think of myself when I was 13.
Right.
There's no fucking way I'm believing that, but I guess I've never experienced this. I mean, he tells the family, oh, we're going to go, you know, on a horseback riding trip or whatever. And they trusted him. He's like a family friend or whatever. So they sent her with him, and he was gone for a month, took her to Mexico. Like, and that is the first time. That's the first time. It's crazy. It's fucking batshit crazy. And there's things involving the parents with the guy. Like, he seduces both parents. Yes.
So he sleeps with the parents.
Well, he sleeps with one of the parents and gets help from the other one. You know,
blowies.
No, not quite that far.
Okay, all right.
But the point is, he basically played this entire family for a tune. It's crazy.
That's insanity.
It is batshit. It's very, very much something that, if anyone's into true crime or just crazy shit, it's the second craziest documentary I've seen, next to Imposter, which was one I watched a few years ago that was absolutely fucking stunning. But this, halfway through, I looked at the fiance and I'm like, I almost don't believe this. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, how is this family allowing this?
Right.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. And I felt terrible for them because they feel terrible now. It's like current interviews with them and shit. The dude is a monster.
Yeah, clearly he's a psychopath.
But you can't watch it and not think like, okay, what world are we living in? Because it is fucking crazy. I mean, this shit just gets piled on. Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and I believed that the aliens, Xenu and blah, blah, were talking to me. And you're just like, what's next? And then the dad's like, and he asked me for relief, so I gave him a handy or whatever. And you're just, it's like compounding interest. The craziness just gets ramped up as the movie goes on. I was expecting the end to be like, yeah, we're just kidding. These are all fantastic actors.
Shyamalan comes out.
Yeah.
What a twist.
It's an M. Night movie. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's, I recommend that one. Highly recommend that.
Okay.
One. You should tag that with mild spoilers or something in the timestamp too. But yeah, I mean, did you watch anything else?
I have one viewing, but I want to go into something else. It's not a viewing. I played a video game.
Oh, did you?
This is why I don't play video games.
Uh-oh.
Is
Did you
because
get mad?
I got obsessed. It was like all I could do was play Spider-Man for PS4.
Okay.
I finally kind of came back to it after months of not playing it, and that game is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
I have it. I haven't played the shit out of it.
It's I'm like 89 or 85% done or something like that. It is one of the definitive. This is a crazy, and it's been said before. This is a crazy year for Spider-Man. You had Infinity War, you had Into the Spider-Verse, and then you had this game. This is probably the best year Spider-Man has ever had as far as like quality things coming out in different areas and different iterations.
I mean, he was in arguably the best superhero movie ever made in Spider-Man 2, but we'll let that slide.
That's one good thing. This
Yeah,
is
but that is a really good thing.
It's a really good thing. But this is three really good things.
But yeah, I've got to pick that back up.
It's really good. It's really good. The story
problem
mode
is it came out and then Red Dead Redemption came out,
Yeah.
and they're both kind of the same, like open world thing.
Yeah,
and I the more I play those,
sometimes you get a little tired of it.
well, it's like, and I know they're huge and whatever, and that's the selling point, but it's like, okay, set checkpoint, dot on map, go to dot.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, you're just like,
I'd rather them make a game with a smaller map that has limited places you need to go and they don't tell you where to go.
right. Yeah, no, I agree.
Even though they say like, oh, you're not on the rails in this game, you're not on a track. You're on a track. It's just a dot on a map that I have to go to.
Yeah,
instead
you just have different tracks you can choose.
Yeah.
Next week, I think I'm going to discuss Hollow Knight.
Okay.
That's top 3 video games I've ever played in my life.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. But we don't have time for that today.
Right.
So.
But the game, the thing that I realized it might be it might actually be the best comic book video game ever made.
All right.
And the reason I sort of give it an edge over the Arkham Knight games is
Ooh, those are fun.
they're really good.
Yeah.
But the thing about New York in this is that it feels like a real lived-in city.
It does.
Arkham never felt real. Even in, what was it, Arkham Knight was the last one?
The only one I played was the first one.
Okay, I played all 3. I rented Arkham Knight. I didn't buy it.
Okay.
It never really felt like a real city. There's like no people anywhere.
Right,
You
yep.
don't really save
I
normal
have
people.
heard that.
Don't
you like drive around in the Batmobile
Yeah.
and do missions and shit? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And this nails one of the most important things about a superhero, which is their alter ego and their life as an alter.
Yeah, the
alter
parts
ego.
I played, like the little cutscenes and stuff, were pretty good. Like
Yeah.
it felt like somebody really cared about the property when they put it together. So
Yeah, I mean, you care about Aunt May, you care about Miles, you care about Mary Jane. They all have a history in this, and it feels real, and it's good. It's one of the best Spider-Man things to ever come out, I think. So
Sweet.
And I love just web swinging around.
that was always the best thing about even the shitty Spider-Man
Exactly.
games. Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, it made me realize I think Spider-Man has maybe the coolest way of traversing the world. Sure, you can fly, sure, but
Flying.
yeah, but I mean, tell me it doesn't look cooler when you're doing fucking aerial flips.
It looks
and
fun
shit.
as shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, well, so we both saw a movie in theaters.
Yeah.
That the other didn't see. So I saw Serenity.
Okay.
And it must have been batshit week for me because it was fucking bizarre. There's not much I can say without spoiling this.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it an overall B-.
For everybody who doesn't know, because this hasn't had a ton of trailers, this is the Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway,
Diane Lane,
weird
Jason Clarke,
romance-
Digimon, our boy Digimon Hansu.
Yeah, Digimon. And what's the premise? It's like a romantic thriller kind of thing.
It's like a modern day thriller.
Yeah.
This guy lives on an island. He's a fisherman.
Yeah.
And he's seeking out this tuna, this legendary tuna that he's been after.
Jonah's gonna get his whale.
Right. Yes. Correct. His wife shows up and says, I have this abusive husband now. Like Matthew McConaughey went off to war, and while he was gone, she met this other guy, but she already had a kid with Matthew McConaughey, and basically asks Matthew McConaughey to kill him for her.
Yep.
That's the premise. Now, it looked in the trailer like it was almost like one of those Gillian Flynn type, Gone Girl type things.
Yep.
Whew, it is not that.
They made it look like in the trailers, like everybody on the island was in on it in some regard.
Yeah, you've got a good eye. Well, not in on it, but don't even ask me about that.
Right? No, I don't want you.
that.
I don't want you to spoil it. It was just one of those things where everybody's like, "We all know you have a choice, Matthew McConaughey. Oh, this is a fucked up thing, Matthew McConaughey."
Right? Yes.
You know.
But yeah, there's some really fucking clever things in this.
Okay.
That I can't talk about.
Right.
Now, this is one that's a B-, but it's like my highest recommendation just because you're not going to see anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything quite like this.
Right.
The performances are good. Now, what was interesting, and I will, divulge this I'll say that about 20 minutes into the movie, I looked at my buddy and I said, this is on purpose because everything was so cheesy. Like it was trying to be like a neo-noir, like film noir type characters, like the damsel. And, she's like, what's her name? Anne Hathaway, like really vamps it up like this,
Okay.
And once you discover that this is purposeful and once they give you the reasons why, it all makes sense.
Gotcha.
And I feel like the critics, they're shitting on this, by the way. I feel like they don't get it.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Maybe I just have horrible taste. But the things they're insulting, like, you mentioned Peter Travers last week.
Yep.
The things they're insulting are clearly there for a reason.
Okay.
And if you're not in the world where that reason makes sense, you're not going to like this movie.
Okay.
That's all I'll say about it.
Fair enough. It's kind of like, when people would look at like would you say, okay, I'm just going to ask, would you say it's akin to like the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans when somebody goes like, it's just so campy and cheesy. Well,
yeah,
that's
sure.
the whole
That's
point.
the point.
It's intentional.
Well, yeah. And like Sam Raimi, I mean, he's the master of that, right?
Well, and even I, in my years, have come to the point where I still appreciate them, but I don't enjoy the campy cheesiness as much as I did when those first came out. But it's purposeful, and I would never fault it for being the thing that it's trying to be.
Yeah, it is just bizarre.
Right.
I'm giving him points for trying something. I'm not sure if it works.
Right. Yeah. Cause you said to me, it was like an A+ concept with a D+ execution.
See, and I want to revise that because I love the concept, but I don't know if it's doable. And when you see it, you will understand what I'm saying.
Right.
But the hate it's getting, it's like, it's not poorly made. It's weird as fuck. It's goofy at times. And yeah, by far and away in January, the best thing I've seen.
Okay.
As far as like, if you go see a movie this January and it's any of, like, if I were to tell you which one to see based on what I've seen, I'm not going to say this is the best one.
Right.
But this is the one I would recommend just because everything else that's out right now is fucking...
And I don't know how the listeners.
Yeah, people don't view their podcasts, Alex.
Well, yeah. But I don't know how people are going to take this, but I'm going to tell you where I'm at with your recommendation and with where it's at on Rotten Tomatoes. I am not going to see this in theaters because a D+ execution does not put much faith in me, especially if I don't have my Cinemia account yet. So I'm not gonna.
You're making a mistake. I'm telling you.
No, I will see it. I will just rent it. I just won't see it in theaters.
This coming from the guy who saw Replicas.
I saw that because we had to.
Although there's probably people that hate this more than Replicas.
Probably.
Yeah.
No, I saw Replicas because I had to for this podcast.
Well, either way, get that Cinemia card.
I do. I'm going to.
I used it for this movie. But yeah, no, I applause to, I think his name's Kevin Knight, who did this. He actually did Eastern Promises with Vigo, too.
Oh.
This guy knows how to make and write a fucking movie.
If you did Eastern
Promises. That's what I'm saying. This isn't some fucking schlocky dickwad who directed The Mummy. Like, everything in this is purposeful. Does it work? I'll let you decide.
Right.
I don't fucking know, but I was entertained. Most entertained I've been this year.
It sounds like it'll be fun to dissect.
It is a dissection. At some point, we should just talk about this movie for 20 minutes after you've seen it on video or whatever.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Look
you
forward
saw
to
Stan
that.
and Ollie.
I did. Yeah, I saw Stan and Ollie. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It's definitely the best movie I've seen in January.
It probably is better than Serenity,
But it does not. It doesn't count as a 2019 movie because it came out the last week of 2018.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but it wasn't widely released 2018.
But it was out in the U.S. somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
So sadly, I can't say it's the best movie of 2019.
But it's the best one you've seen.
Best one I've seen of this year. I'd probably give it a B.
Okay.
Probably give it a B. Nice little quaint little movie. It's an hour and 37 minutes
Ooh,
long.
bonus points.
Yes. It's nice and short, knows what it's doing. You got John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, the director from Tropic Thunder. He played the director. He wasn't the director. Yeah, he's great. He's funny. Let's see. So it's about this comedy duo from the 30s, and they aren't making that much money anymore. And so to try and get a movie deal, they are reuniting for a comedy tour in the UK.
Okay.
And they haven't been together for like 15 years. They were together before World War II, and then like after World War II, this is like, I don't know, 1955 or something, 1953 or something like that.
Sure.
And yeah, just wholesome and nice and good. And Steve Coogan really impressed me with his acting.
I like him.
John C. Reilly is a good actor.
Yes.
He just doesn't get much credit for it.
No, he's too good at playing like the goofy, bumbling idiot character.
But you feel for him, but you don't feel enough to the point of like making you want to cry.
Okay. Was it going for that?
I think well, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, but it's a movie that, and I don't want to be sexist or genderist or whatever, but might make your mom cry.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to make like, I don't think it's going to make a grown man in their 30s cry.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the thing about it that was a little weird was you realized how juvenile our sense of humor was back in the 30s and 40s. Lots of slapstick. Isn't it funny because he fell down kind of shit? Because there are bits where they do their performances and they let them go on for a while, and you're like, I'm not laughing. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at this bit with the audience that's in the movie laughing, but there are other bits that are still kind of funny and still kind of hold their own. But yeah, I love the time period. I love they nailed the look of it. Steve Coogan looked great in the part. I just, the acting is the thing that really took it over the edge for me.
Nice.
Yeah, so I recommend it. And I feel
Sweet.
bad for these guys because it's one of those things where you realize like these guys are, they're talented comedians, but they didn't get any royalties from any of their movies, and they had like 150 movies. So they're poor as shit, even though like everybody knows them.
Different time.
And also it's one of those things that I really like because, you know, you and I kind of do a creative thing with this podcast. And if anybody has done a creative endeavor with a partner, this is kind of a good dissection about like the dichotomy between, you know, the relationship that develops between people who are trying to create something.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, as soon as the recording button gets stopped, as soon as we stop recording, we're just monsters to each other.
Oh yeah, we're
screaming.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's Homer and Bart, but we're both Homer to each other.
Right. But yeah, so I might go see that one.
I recommend it.
That sounds pretty good. The last thing I'll talk about before we get to our guest, and it's kind of a decent segue into our guest because it's another video game.
Yeah.
I played the remake of Resident Evil 2 this weekend.
Okay.
It's fucking impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because as a kid, you remember Resident Evil games as being like super hard. Your sense of time from childhood is fucked up.
Yeah.
I beat this in, I think, over a little over 11 hours, and that's both the Claire campaign and the Leon campaign.
Okay.
But man, if you're a Resident Evil fan, this thing is like a dream come true nostalgia-wise. They took the whole thing, they changed the camera so it's like behind the character, third-person perspective instead of the fixed camera that you used to have with the goofy movement.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more, the action in it is a lot easier to deal with, but it's still, you know, you go into a room, you might have 2 bullets left. You know, it makes you feel just super anxious because... Right. You're fucking never know what's going to be in the next room.
Yep.
I was yelling like, oh shit, when I'd enter a room, like legitimately like shocked.
Right. Yeah.
Just really well done. Kudos to Capcom for doing this, because it's one of those things. I know we shit on remakes and shit, but when it's done right, a remake can be a really nice homage to whatever, and they did a great job. So
I will say I don't with video games, I don't have as much of a problem with remakes, just because it's a matter of technology has moved forward so much
that you can really fix.
You can, like one of my games that I'm most looking forward to for PS4, and knowing Square Enix, it might not even come out.
Final Fantasy
7. I'm so incredibly excited for that.
I never played it, so it's a perfect experience for me to try it.
It's probably going to be worse. It's probably going to be worse than the original. As far as
this is where this one was head and shoulders better. I mean, objectively better in every possible way.
I don't mean, obviously the graphics are going to be better. The music is probably going to be better.
Your experience with it?
I think what's going to be worse is probably the writing, because I know the director who's on this, and he's the guy who does the Kingdom Hearts games.
Okay.
And the Kingdom Hearts games have, for a series that is meant for children, has one of the most convoluted stories I've ever seen. For something that's basically save the people from having their hearts taken away.
It's funny. I immediately think of the Metal Gear games and those plot lines.
Yep.
I'm just like, what the fuck?
That first game, though.
The PlayStation 1.
Yes.
Metal Gear Solid was great. But they're all, as you play them, you're just like, what the fuck?
Metal Gear Solid 4
came up with this shit?
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 4 is a lot of fun, but it's also one of those where you're like, I'm kind of lost because I haven't been up on these games in a while.
My problem with those is the last one I played, the PS4 one. Oh God, I forget. Not Snake Eater. I forget the name of it. But fucking the first hour is like 50 minutes of cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's like I want to fucking play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't need to hear your whacked out weird fucking story.
Snake though. Or not Snake.
Yeah.
No, it is Snake. Sorry.
Snake. Yeah, he's great.
I was thinking.
And he was played by Kiefer in the last one, so little Jack Bauer.
I was like, is it Snake? Because then I was like, it can't be Snake, because there's Snake Plissken, two guys who are badasses with eye patches.
Right.
That can't be a thing.
Real.
It's real. Yeah.
There's your crossover, Snake and Snake.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, be great.
Or play it, I guess.
But Resident Evil, I'm gonna give the game an A-.
Yeah.
Good game.
But we're gonna go to our interview now.
All right, so like I said, our segue from Resident Evil is to talk to a guy who has made a movie with a video game featured.
Yeah.
His name is Kennedy Baruch. He wrote and directed a rather acclaimed short film that is known as one of the best Zelda fan films. Now, I wouldn't really necessarily call it a fan film. I think it's a little more than that.
Yeah.
Called Escape. And now it is being turned into a feature-length film from him called Princess in Another Castle. Kennedy Baruch. You can find him at Twitter at Baruch Films, Instagram Baruch Films, YouTube Baruch Films. So thank you for making that easy for us, Kennedy, and for everyone who's trying to find you. But yeah, so, we were talking with his team there and, decided to bring him on for an episode. So yeah, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Kennedy.
Thank you. Glad to be a part of it.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, first off, I went and watched Escape and a few more of your movies, and I just want to say that movie Meet the Lobsters is probably my favorite so far that I've watched. I also like you've got another one called Skyward Bong, I believe, that I watched, and that was hilarious because, in every one of your movies that I've watched thus far, they're all short films. I can totally draw, parallels to my own experiences.
Right.
So, I guess I just wanted to start with why video games? Were you a big gamer growing up, or?
Oh yeah, huge gamer growing up. I tend to go back and forth different days of the week. One day I'll be like, I'm a filmmaker foremost, and another day I'll be like, I'm a storyteller foremost. But most of the time I'm like, I'm a gamer foremost.
Nice. Well, yeah, you're
Always
talking
playing
to a
video
couple here.
games.
I was just talking about on the show. I plowed through the entirety of the new Resident Evil 2 remake on
Oh,
Xbox. Have you
I'm
played it
jealous.
yet?
I picked it up on Friday. I love it.
Well, it's
I
it.
had to exercise a lot of willpower to not binge through that game this
Well,
weekend.
that's the problem. Is it's funny because my memory of being a kid playing it, it was a lot more difficult. It took me a long time to get through, but I whipped through it in like under 12 hours for both campaigns this weekend. So that
Yeah.
would be the only disappointing thing. Is it's awesome, but it's too short. It's just too short.
It is very short. I don't know. I tend to prefer like a 10 out of 10 8-hour game over
That's
like a 7 out of 10 100-hour game, because if it's a 10 out of 10, I'm likely to want to play it like 6 or 7 times, you know.
now Breath of the Wild. I'm assuming you've played. What would you say to that one?
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
long game.
It is a long game. It's probably one of the longest games I've ever played now that I think about it. I'm sure there have been games I've put more hours into, but as far as one playthrough goes, I can't think of another game I've spent like 200 hours on one playthrough of. Maybe Pokemon as a kid.
Oh boy.
Right.
Oh God, that's been a while since I touched one of those. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, just wanted to get a little bit of your gaming out there. But as far as your movie, like I said, I watched Escape. I thought it was great. I really liked it.
Thank
Basically,
you.
for our listeners, the premise is that this little girl, she's playing, I believe it was Twilight Princess in the game,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
basically she's got kind of a tumultuous home life. She's not doing great in school, and this video game is sort of her escape from the shitty world that's around her. And in watching it, I was thinking to myself, I've had these moments, especially as a kid. I was the kid who like never did his homework. I was always playing video games. But did you draw that from your own experience, or was that something that you just came up with out of nowhere, or how'd that happen?
I generally tell people Escape is semi-autobiographical, and Princess in Another Castle is almost wholly autobiographical. It's pretty much just gender swapped, and everything else
Okay.
is close to how it happened. So for a while, I've just kind of been, pretty much since I started making movies, I've been like exercising my gamer pride in my movies. After Escape, I had a interview with one site, and they quoted me on this like super pretentious quote I had where I was like, Martin Scorsese calls all his movies Italian movies. I call all my movies gaming movies, which I still probably stand by.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, at a certain point, I knew I wanted to make something more autobiographical and kind of like the 400 Blows, or any other movie that has a more realistic, jarring take on childhood, but with video games, and kind of showing that for a lot of kids, especially adults in my age group who grew up playing video games was kind of like our big saving grace. We love cartoons, some of us love comic books, but video games are like the main thing where it's like you're in another world and you have agency and you have control. And as a kid, those things are all huge because you
Right.
don't have agency as a kid. You don't have control. You can't do whatever you want, which I think is part of the reason why so many kids connect with video games the way they do.
It makes sense.
So
Yeah.
I consciously wanted to do something autobiographical, keeping that in mind.
Now, as far as your decision to go ahead and make this a feature-length movie, is there a reason why you went that route? Was it just because it was so well received, or is it just something where you see a lot more there? Because I got to tell you, in 10 minutes, you sure got the point across in a really, concise and well done way. So,
Yeah, it was very
Thank you.
efficient storytelling, I thought.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. There were a number of reasons why I wanted to make a feature film. Like you said, the success of the short was part of it. I saw how many people, my favorite part of Escape was reading the comments and seeing how many people were like, this was literally my life. I've never cried while watching a movie, but I cried so hard watching this one. I related to this so much, stuff like that. And then every now and then I would see a comment that was, when are we getting a full length? When's the next one coming? Stuff like that, which got the gears turning in my head even more. And with the success of Escape, I was like, well, shit, if there's one idea I have a feature that I could probably get funding for, it's the one that I basically made a spec short for already. And then I kind of went into my memory banks, logged every most traumatic thing that happened to me in my childhood, put them on a piece of paper, was like, okay, if I put them in this one here, this one here, this one there, it makes a really good plot progression. And then I kind of filled in the blanks from there. And at a certain point, it almost felt like it was writing itself, because it's so close to me and so close to the vest.
That's really when you know you're kind of in the zone, is when
Yeah.
it just starts writing itself.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering, you're expanding on the story here. What kind of hurdles have you sort of come across? I mean, you sort of said you basically started writing itself, but with expanding on sort of like a really well-defined story, what did you find that you had to expand on more, and what was a struggle with expanding on something?
I would say the main thing in writing it was expanding on the character arcs and making sure every single character has an arc. Because really, in the short film, Danny's the only one with an arc.
Yeah.
So in writing a feature, I had to change that. Everyone has an arc. They start someplace and end someplace different. There's more characters. We're kind of layering the childhood gamer experience. She has one friend, and she has one friend she connects with over video games, which is a big thing for her, and that wasn't something we had in the short.
Right.
We also introduce a school counselor. So she has a counselor to talk to, and he's trying to help her. More characters in writing, and kind of expanding it, making some things a little more sophisticated. One of the big complaints was with Escape, I saw, was that people were saying it was kind of perpetuating this idea that video games are only escapism and can't be art, which is pretty much the one thing I couldn't fix or touch up in Princess, just because it doesn't make sense from a child's perspective.
I don't agree with it either, because to me, I mean, everyone can get lost in art, so that would be kind of my rebuttal to that.
Well, and that's
it's just something kids don't. That's
Right.
above their pay grade.
Right. Well, it's kind of an interesting idea, is just because something is escapism, does that mean it's not art? I think that's the question you have to ask.
That is a good question.
Because I think we all are in agreement that it is art.
Yes, I agree. My friend who actually designs games, at one point he said to me, the question isn't whether video games are art, it's whether or not they're good art.
Yeah.
And of course, most of the time the answer is no.
Well, that's what's funny. I mean, so, you can say everything's subjective, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
there's good and bad art. We watch movies constantly, and there's a lot of shitty movies.
Yeah.
So, are movies good art just because they're movies? No.
Yeah.
But once in a while, you get that one that changes your life. So...
Yes.
Another, getting into your new movie here, one thing that I was definitely curious about, what's it been like to, it looks like, I did some research on you, it looks like you've been working on this thing for years, about 5 years, is that correct?
That is correct. We started it when I was in college, because I made Escape as my final project for really what's basically film one in film school. And by the time I was finishing up film school for my last year, I was like, I bet with the success from Escape and how everybody knows me in the department now, I could start a feature film as an independent studies project and get one of these professors of mine who has had films play at, places like Sundance and South by Southwest, all those big names,
Wow.
attached, and producing. Like, that would be a really big get for me while I'm still here and in film school. So that was the plan, and that was how it started. And it started as a school project led by Jeff Marslet, who you can look up. He actually just had a short play at Sundance this past week, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that was how it started. And our crew was nothing but students, which I feel no shame in saying that, because nothing but students made Escape, and everybody really loves that. Yeah, and then right before we finished shooting, I graduated. So I graduated. We kept shooting it over the summer, and then finished. Um, and then there was just kind of like a series of events of like me having to learn how to support myself out of school, and us having to switch editors. And then when we did switch editors, our second editor was like, I can't get this to work in my software for some reason.
Ooh.
And then at a certain point, we decided to just reboot the edit completely. Um, and yeah, and so it's the post production was rebooted at a certain point, and I think it was for the best, even though people have had to wait a while. I'd rather them wait a while for a perfect movie than wait a little while for an okay movie.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. I can tell you, we've had headaches just when we screw up recording an episode of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And we act like it's the end of the world. But I can imagine your experience was a little more difficult. As far as that experience, like it's got to be totally different, to secure funding for something like this, find actors. I mean, you're talking about, I'm assuming the movie's what, like an hour and a half long or?
Yeah, it's going to be about 80 minutes. We were aiming for a manageable short length, not too short, but a tight feature. For me, a lot of my favorite feature films are like 90 minutes, 80 minutes because they're so tight. There's no wasted time. There's no fluff. It's just story beat after story beat after story beat.
When we review movies, we give movies bonus points if they're around that hour and a half long mark because whether it's good or bad.
Yes. Even if it's bad.
It makes a difference. It
does.
really does. You don't want every movie to be Lawrence of Arabia. So... But,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like funding for it, finding actors, that sort of thing. How'd you go about that? Was that just people you knew, or did you? It looks like maybe it was a Kickstarter of some kind.
Yeah, so going into production, we only had about $5,000, which when I sat down, talked about it with my DP and my first producer on this, we were like, okay, we'll use that 5,000 for production design, costumes, props, and locations a little bit. And then we will do what pretty much every other student filmmaker does and tell our actors they'll be paid with credit and food, which is what we put in the call for auditions. And then we had a call for auditions like you do, posted our ads for actors, and pretty much every single other project I've done, the only actors I had audition were local actors in Austin, willing to work for free on student projects. Whereas this one, it was interesting because we posted in the call for actors that this was based off Escape. Escape already had 100,000 views, this and that and this and that. And we had people driving in from all over Texas. We had like... We had, I think it was 3 days, maybe 4 days straight of auditions, just like 12 hours of auditions. And we had people driving all in from like Houston, Dallas. I think one guy came from Oklahoma, actually.
And where are you located? Where are you located, Kennedy?
I'm in Austin.
Okay.
So I'm in Central Texas. So we had people coming from like East Texas, West Texas, North Texas. And Texas, if you've never been to Texas, is like super big, like crazy big. Like I can drive for 10 hours and be in Texas still.
Right, yeah. Wisconsin, that's not exactly the experience for us. In about 4 hours, we can hit the northern tip of the state. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anything else regarding Princess in Another Castle that you think it's important that our listeners hear about? I mean, are they, what are they in for with the movie? What's your goal?
Our goal is to tell a very real, heartfelt story of childhood, for not just gamers, but I think a lot of people who grew up in the 90s, millennials, let's say. People love using that word. And to tell a story that Hollywood can't tell. And not because they won't tell it per se, but because it's not as marketable for theatrical distribution, let's say, as something, when most movies that come out of Hollywood about kids are for kids.
Right.
And when you're making a movie about childhood for kids, you can't have an honest, jarring, traumatizing take that a lot of adults are going to relate to.
Yeah, watching Escape, I kind of thought about that because there's the kids movies like Stand By Me or something that kids aren't supposed to see. And then there's the kids movies like, the kids movies we see all the time. There was just one that came out this weekend about the king of, I don't even know.
Oh, yeah, the Harry Potter
exactly.
wannabe.
But they're clearly for kids.
Yes.
Exclusively.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
I'm
nice.
not saying anything bad about those movies. Like, it's good to have kids movies for kids, obviously.
Paddington 2 last year was one of my favorite movies. So
yeah, good choice.
But no, I it's crazy because I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself about that. I'm like, this is kind of interesting because it kind of toes that line where like a kid can watch this. There's nothing that would stand in the way of them understanding what this is.
Yeah.
But an adult can watch it too, maybe get an idea of, what their kids are going through and, why video games are important to them. So I think that's a cool idea from you.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if these movies can change even one mind, if these movies can make even just one parent or set of parents be like, hey, I should be more careful raising my kid. I should respect that video games are a good thing for them. Then I think I'll have done my job,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, where can they find information on the movie?
So they can go to, we've got an Instagram page, not only for me now, but for the movie. It's at Princess in Another Castle Movie. We've still got the Twitter, which I believe is also at Princess in Another Castle Movie. We've got the Facebook page, and then we've got my YouTube channel, which I don't think I'm allowed to discuss the timing specifics, but I think I'm allowed to say that we will be posting an update there to the YouTube channel soon, and we've already sent out a few updates to our Indiegogo backers.
That was going to be my next question: do you have a release for this? Do you know when it's coming out? And if you do know, can you tell us?
I can't say.
All right, perfect. No, we understand.
To discuss that at this time.
Fair enough.
Hey, thank you for telling us.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to say we're focusing on one thing at a time. And right now it's finishing up post-production, which is going very well. We sat down and watched it the other night, and I really, really like how it's coming along, and I think the wait was worth it.
I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Jackson kind of handled some of the questions on the short film. I got some questions as a film student to film student
Sure.
questions. So when you graduated, you made this successful short film, very well received, very good. Did that help propel you to get a job in film? Are you working in film currently as like your day job?
Yes, in a roundabout way. Film school, I think it could be argued more than any other type of college. It's really what you make of it. And a big part of it is networking and talking to people and finding people who will send work your way and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, for example, this past summer, one of my friends who's like my go-to co-writer now, he called me from LA and was like, hey, I'm producing this short video interview with Beans from Even Stevens, and we need an animator. And I know you animate, and I think your style would be great for this. What do you say? We'll pay you to do it. And I was like, yeah.
Nice.
It's that kind of thing where you want to have as many positive bridges with people as you can get. And with Austin specifically, it's been hard because pretty much right around the time I graduated, the lawmakers changed the tax incentives for film production. So literally overnight when that happened, 3 TV shows closed down. They just closed doors, stopped production.
Yeah, that seems like it's becoming like it's LA, Chicago, New York, and Atlanta.
Yes, that is exactly correct. So yeah, it's been very hard to find film work here specifically. But with my directing work and camera work, I've been able to get a lot of good paying work that isn't film per se, but it's, me directing the video production and DVD for a local theater production, or
Oh, cool.
directing videos, a live performance of local drag queens, which is super fun. Um, doing videos of bands doing live performances, or music videos, local bands, stuff like
Right.
that.
Sweet.
So yeah.
You said you did animation. Did you do those credit animations that were in Escape?
Yes. So my roommate at the time did the drawings, and then I animated them and moved them, and like altered the coloring a little bit so they were in white over black instead of black over white.
Right.
And then I did all of the animation for the credits in Lobsters. Actually, that lobster at the end was all me.
Nice.
That shit was really bizarre and fun to watch. On that note,
Thank you.
you want to explain the ending of that to me, because I'm usually, I watch something like that, and I'm usually pretty proud of myself and how I can, understand the ending. Is it something where it's a nailed down meaning at the end of that, or?
Oh yeah. The like lore of Lobsters is nailed down for sure. I've always been kind of hesitant to reveal like too much, because I
Okay.
like letting people figure it out. Um, but yeah, the lobster was not his birth father. Um, this woman should not have been a woman he married, at least for the sake of the world in the future. And the daughter they had is, you can, some people have seen her as the Antichrist. I don't think that's
It was fun to
far
watch,
from the
man.
truth.
I liked it. I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah,
If I will say, if you liked Lobsters and you liked Escaped, you are probably gonna go bananas for my second feature film, which we're in early development of it right now. And I can't say too much, but it is it's going to be a spiritual follow-up of sorts to Princess. And it's going to be a completely different character in a completely different genre, and it's action horror.
oh,
And it's going to be fucking bananas. I'm super stoked for it.
oh, that's exciting. Horror is like my
Yeah.
favorite genre. So,
Nice. It's
but
one of my favorites for sure.
yeah, just to kind of leave off here, I wanted to ask you something not related. What is your favorite video game movie?
Good
My
question.
favorite video game movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're historically not very good, but I've got a soft spot for a couple of them, even though I know objectively they're not the greatest movies. But yeah, do you have one that you really like?
Yeah, they taught me at a certain point in film school, like if you're aiming for Hollywood, never say a movie's a bad movie. So I try my best to at least keep my mouth shut.
Right.
But I guess it depends on your definition of a video game movie, because does Scott Pilgrim count?
Oh,
I think it does.
Sure.
I think by technicality it does.
I mean, you kind of cheated me there. I was hoping for like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or something, but we'll let that one slide as the winner.
I will say, every time I catch the original Resident Evil movie on Sci-Fi, I find myself having a really good time.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah. Though I also saw, I think I skipped the fifth and sixth ones. I can't remember, but I saw the last one in IMAX. And that was actually a really good time. Ended up being surprised at how satisfied I was with how they like wrapped up the sci-fi aspects of the story.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty cool what they did with the clones and all that.
Well, yeah, sometimes I feel like we get a little too wrapped up in the I guess the objective quality of a movie, and we forget that the experience is just supposed to be about having fun. So if there's a cheesy movie and you sit there and you enjoy it, who cares, right?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, do what makes you happy. In 500 years, nobody's gonna give a shit about plenty of the movies that are coming out. There's too many movies coming out for somebody in 500 years to give a shit about all of them,
Right.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But yeah, anything else, Kennedy, before we let you go here?
I don't think so.
All right.
I think, yeah, I had fun.
Well, hey, yeah, thank you for coming on here. We'll be eagerly awaiting the release of Princess in Another Castle and to hear about whatever that other project you're working on is.
Yeah, I can tell you the initials for it. They're JLKTA.
All right.
I'm not I'm not allowed to say the title, but
listeners,
but it's
please
JLKTA.
send in your guesses. We will read your guesses on the air.
Awesome.
But yeah, thanks again, Kennedy.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, that's it. That's been another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I've been Jackson.
And I've been home at the movies.
Thank you for listening.